Hello, welcome everyone to another night with the Beacon of Light podcast. Thank you for you all being here tonight. We're really excited to have Jan Alexander with us. But before we start talking with her, let's jump into this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. We're back. Thank you everyone for being here tonight, coming here live. Welcome, Jan. This is exciting to see. You are now a 3-time author. How does that feel?
Good. And 3 different genres. And I have a 4th book in my head and maybe a 5th one too.
Wow, awesome. I think it's amazing when we get the bug and start, especially if it's about your favorite topic. Well, off you go. So really exciting. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jan.
I am 72. I am still riding horses. I love riding horses in the woods. It's my favorite pastime. I'm a retired teacher. I'm married to my wonderful husband, James. We have 4 cats and 2 dogs. I am riding a friend's horse right now. Mine passed away a couple of years, about maybe 2 years ago, and she was very generous to let me exercise her beautiful horse. I also braid horsehair jewelry, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Perfect. It is really incredible to see how your love of an animal and activity of everything really has encompassed your whole life. And I think one of my favorite things, spoiler alert out there, as you start looking at some of the information about her new book, you can see it there on the background. It's so amazing. Finally, horses, which is great. I'm going to pop there we are. We've got the title there. I've seen a picture, and I'm assuming it's a Christmas time because we see a tree there, and you're in a cowgirl kind of get up, and I'm like, oh, so this has been the whole idea about horses just wasn't suddenly, right? Tell us a little bit about how this whole dream started.
Well, I was born in a big city, horse crazy. I don't know why. I didn't know anybody with horses. Nobody in my family had anything to do with horses. I did see maybe once or twice when we went downtown for Easter to buy our Easter outfits. I saw a mounted policeman, on a horse. And it was the time, fortunately, for at least TV horses like Fury and Flicka, etc. The cowboy era on television. So that's how I kind of got my fix. And then there was a great store called the Woolworths 5 and Dime store, and they sold, horse statues. And so I became a collector. I played with them instead of dolls. I thought they were much more interesting than dolls. So kind of that's how it started.
I think it is just so amazing that when a heart knows something, it just connects. And if you like what you like, you like. So it's just really interesting. So if I were to guess, you're not, you lived in a big city, nobody knew about horses, all of those things. How long was it before you actually got to touch or ride your first horse?
I think it was when my parents sent me one summer to summer camp, and they had horses at the summer camp. So for a week or so, I got to be around a real horse. And then as I got older, I was a campfire girl, and I belonged to the church youth group. And, they had field trips and activities. So I got to take a series of lessons at one. And then Cleveland has a beautiful park system. They have parks all across the city. It's called the Emerald Necklace. And the one near us had a riding stable nearby. So the campfire outing that I loved most was to go there and rent a horse for an hour, and a guide would go out, and you'd follow the guide on your horse, and I was in seventh heaven.
Amazing. There is something really fantastic when you connect, of course, with nature,
Mhm.
but with the animals that are there with nature, there's like a dual bonus because
Yes.
their spirit really it impacts or even infects us, right? There's something about it. So tell us a little bit about what your favorite part or moment with a horse is.
I think it's just being together in the woods. They don't talk. It's very quiet. Our society is so loud. They're quiet. I can kind of get quiet. My brain's still spinning, but if I'm out there long enough, it quiets down. You can communicate with horses, just not out loud. So it's a wonderful communication. Um, I don't know. I guess it's somewhat like maybe you with the deaf signing. It's you're communicating, but it's a quiet communication. It's a very spiritual aspect. Being in the woods, I feel in God's presence. I feel that God gave me, horses finally to ride in the woods and to kind of get in touch with God, and myself. Um, I feel at peace. I feel loved. I feel my best self. It's just a glorious, glorious experience. Can't get enough of
Wonderful. I just think it's amazing that an animal, yeah, you're right, that doesn't have a similar language of our like we have really can still connect, and there's something probably deeper that happens. So with your children's book, right there we see it in the background, finally horses. Tell us a little bit about how this book started, like how it came about.
Well, I had written my first book at home on a horse in the woods, telling the story of how I finally got into horses, which was quite, I think, miraculous. It took a while, but it was great once it started. Started in my 40s, and I'm 72, and it's still going. So it's real. Um, the second book was about another dream, which was braiding horsehair jewelry. I wanted to carry make a piece of jewelry to carry the spirit of the horse with me when I was not on the horse or with the horse. That was an adventure in trying to learn that. And then, having been a former teacher, retired teacher, who had written many lesson plans and taught many things over 30 years, I decided I better write that book that I wished I had when I wanted to learn how to braid horsehair bracelets, because there was nothing out there for me when I was, ready. So I did. And then after that book was written, I just was thinking all of a sudden, kids dream, not just adults. In fact, we're probably better dreamers as kids than we are as adults. And so, if I wrote my first book for older teens and adults to take their dreams seriously, figure out where these dreams come from, why they should take them seriously, and go for it. Some tips like don't be afraid you have to know everything before you begin. You won't. You can trust other people. You can find them to help you. Just kind of my story to encourage them that if I could achieve my dreams, probably they can too. And then it just hit me one day. I mean, out of the blue, it just hit me that, kids have dreams and they need encouragement. So then after I wrote the book to encourage children, it's the same story, but it's told mostly through pictures. Of course, being a children's book, it's probably for 7 to 11 years old, 11 year olds, and parents can also, of course, interpret the pictures for younger children, and they can grow into the words. But then one day it hit me that, we have reading groups and book clubs. Why not have the adults buy two books, the adult version at home on A Horse in the Woods for them, and the children's version, Horses Finally, or Finally Horses, and have them read it during the same time period and get together at certain points to discuss what's your dream. Um, are you serious about your dream? Have you taken any steps towards your dream? Um, are you stuck? What can you do to get unstuck? How can I help you? This is my dream. This is, answer the same questions as the adult, and see how they can support each other in taking their dream seriously and taking action steps towards reaching it. And I think then the neatest thing that caps it all off is I see in so many restaurants and places, even babies, on some kind of a mechanical device, a technological device, just all withdrawn into themselves as the adults do their thing. And I kind of, wonder like what's happening to communication in our culture, especially between adult and child. And the technological thing is like a babysitter. So what's happening, like to the how much do adults and children speak anymore? Is which I'm what I'm questioning, and about serious stuff. So I think that this idea of mine will really help teach children oral communication, and it will help bond the adult with the child. I see so many grandparents eating dinner and the child's on their gizmo and the adults are talking to each other, but there's no connection between the generations. And that's so important that we have communication between the generations. And just think of how powerful, that can be in the child's life and in the grandparents' life to have a bonding, deepening, experience just through the discussion of what are your dreams?
Beautifully said. It's really powerful when we think about the interruptions in our lives through technology and the ease of it and the babysitter, like you said. And it makes it intentional. We need to put things down, set aside time, communicate, try, learn about each other, not just pacify time, but talk, communicate. I know activity, when that's added in, the conversations really can rise to a whole new level. Thank you for that, Jen. I think it's really powerful to know in that communication generationally, when the breakdowns happen, these gaps really fracture links of entire families. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember my grandparents talking, sharing, but the talking and sharing was almost always through an activity. We would cook and can and garden together or whatever, right? There was always an activity because busy things needed to get done. But this continued. And sure, we obviously talked about some of the work that we were doing, but it lent itself for that time of what is your dream, whether that was really a specific question or not, through the conversation or just through the moment, teaching, learning, things like that would happen. And of course, yeah, the benefit of the skill was part of that, but there's deepness to it. She would share, my grandmother would share stories about her life growing up on the farm. I grew up in the city. We had a small garden. The gap between me and the farm was huge because I didn't know much. Of course, I know what a
Mm-hmm.
farm looks like. I know that there are farmers, but the work was just imagined. And through her discussions with me, one of my favorite books, the book that got me started, was now I'm gonna mess it up. uh The Little House in the Big Wood by Laura Ingalls. That started my whole journey because there was that connection of farm, of excitement, of adventure, in this, frontier kind of idea. And she would share with me their property was out on 80 acres,
Mm.
and the back part of the property was still owned by the Fremont Indians or Native Americans.
Wow.
And they would summer their sheep up over North Ogden Pass, and they'd pasture up there. And in the wintertime, the agreement was, you can farm this part of my land, but we need to come and pasture here in the wintertime. When I think about the concept of that and how many years and now centuries, it it shocks me that this generational, if she wouldn't have shared those stories with me, I wouldn't have understood how big a deal the farm actually was and how it helped. And then, of course, more stories. And then I just continued to grab more and more of these books and go deeper into all of that. And um, so it was kind of that idea that the dream, the conversations can really happen. And I love how it's paired with an adult book, with this book, and to have the conversation, especially through picture. That is phenomenal because any kid can pick that up and start. I love the concept in the front of your book. You have somebody on a bike, and
That's
behind
true.
them,
Yeah.
that shadow that's cast is not of that bike. So tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Oh, and during my horse crazy days, I had a bicycle. That's the transportation I had. And when I got to from tricycle to two wheeler, I like to go, fast. And I would pedal as fast as I could, and I would pretend that I was galloping on a horse. And like the mane, instead of the mane, my hair was blowing, and instead of the horse's mane, the bicycle, all those plastic ribbons were blowing, and that was my horse. And I wanted to could I say something relating to what you were just saying?
Sure, sure.
Leslie Bauman is my illustrator, and she also illustrated the cover of my second book about horsehair braiding. And I love her artwork. She did all the internal pictures as well, but she was sort of similar to me, except she was talented in art. And she drew as a young child and drew and drew and drew. And she wanted a horse. So, of course, she drew horses. And now she has two horses. So, she kind of, generation or two later, she's much younger than I am, followed that same, kind of make it so, go after the dream and make it so. And what I think is really neat is that I can picture with this grandmother and child, or mother and child, or teacher and child, or grandfather and grandson, or whatever the pairing is, um, that they maybe the child will become a Leslie and draw, and maybe somebody will become a Janet, or one of are you, because you became a writer, and they can write their own little books, and maybe that will start them off into a writing career or an artistic illustrating career. It doesn't have to be. I mean, it's just a possibility. Maybe they want to become a worldwide golfer or fisherman, or something different. But having a success could launch them to a bigger um, opportunity. So
I
anyway.
agree. The concept there is huge because it's so freeing and it's open, and we don't have fear attached to it. We just have this idea. And I love how, even as a kid, this has been in within your heart. But the actual physical dream of having a horse, and or at least being able to ride often, and all of those things didn't happen for you until you were in your 40s. That it so you never quit on your dream.
You may as well
How
be
it
dead.
came about, it's amazing, right? And were there times throughout that journey when it finally happened, what did it really feel like?
uh, earth shattering, unexpected, delightful, powerful, spiritual. Um, I had warred with God because I had thought that this dream, people mean well, but oh, you'll get hurt, or oh, it's too expensive, or oh, um, a bunch of reasons. They're trying to protect you, but you can't let go of it. And so, and then also I had I don't know, my religious background was sort of like, to be in the background, to be quiet, to serve others, and not to put others before yourself. So I kind of warred a little bit with God about this, like, where's this coming from? Is God on my side, or is God telling me to give this up, like Jesus, giving his body up on the cross? How could a father ask that of a son? Like it was very confusing. And so it wasn't until in my 40s that I met a minister that, that just out of the blue one day, said, God planted this in you, God created this desire in you, and you are not going to be honoring God until you accept it and go for it. And that's the way that you can honor God, not by how much pain you can put yourself through denial, or that type of thing. So that was physically powerful. I felt like I was on that rotating can, at the fair where the floor slips away and you're just, hanging on the wall. It was just, I was spinning. It was very powerful. And within a week or so, I had a first horse opportunity, and I'm on my fourth. So from my mid 40s to my early 70s, the dream has come through over and over 4 times, well, 3 times, because the first time it didn't work out when I was trying to do it myself. And I wasn't sure if God wanted me to do this or not, or where the dream came from. I thought I had to do everything. I had to know everything. I had to see how the whole thing planned out. I had to have all the money in advance. I had to have, everything done. And I since learned after the 40s that there's no way you can even conceive of all that goes into it. And you just take one step at a time and trust, and there will be a person there to help you, like you have so much, um, to help you along. And then another person will help you with a different part. Another person can help you with a different. And then it's your turn to help. Like when I wrote the book about braiding horsehair jewelry, or these 2 books about take your dreams seriously, you can then transform that, to take what you learned and offer it to other people to help them. So it lives on, it goes on.
Amazing. And it really does. I love how through the help, well, I'll back up. I love how you stopped all of the planning, so to speak, and the I'll say control maybe. Like I have to do
Yeah.
it all myself. It's my dream. Because this can get confusing. Part of it is true. Yes, you have to have a dream. Yes, you have to take action and start going forward. But like you said, there's no possible way to have everything in line. Just get going. And then who fills in the gap? Well, through that faith, the Lord will add, put in front of you, help, send people, and it works beautifully.
And it
So
hasn't been easy at all. I mean, it's been fun to do the writing. That's the part I like, but I don't, as you know very well, I don't care for the computer part, and I'm more of an introvert, so I really don't care for um, the selling part. That's hard. That's hard for me. So, will you buy my book? It's hard for me to do that. But there are people that that have worked, with me quite a bit on helping me through that, holding my hand. So, without it takes a village to make a book, and without the other villagers, it never would have happened.
That is true. That is true. Well, Jan, before we close it up tonight, is there anything else that you would like to say about your book? Finally, Horses, where could we get it at?
Any place that sells books. It could be a brick and mortar store that you walk into and it's on the shelf. Most likely, though, you're going to have to order it. Um, and you can also go to a place like, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, that you can just go on your computer and order it that way. And again, you probably have to order it. If you want it, however, personally autographed, you can go to my website and you can write me, send the book, and you can buy it from me. I can order it. You can buy it from me at my house, and then I can inscribe it for you and then mail it to you that way. So that's a
Awesome. Now
possibility.
tell us the name of the website. Sorry.
Swish Tails. That's SWISHTAILS, because I started the business as a horse braiding business and later added on the books. So it's TAILS, plural, Swish Tails, 3 S's, at AOL.com. No, .com. Swishtails.com. Every time you interview me, I mess up at this point. Swishtails.com.
Awesome, Jan. Well, I am so proud of you for doing the scary, hard things, but it really pays off. And look at the beautiful things that you've created. And through horses, your dream has probably gone beyond more than what you maybe even imagined, because doors were opened, windows were open, opportunities were opened. And I'm sure you've met lots and lots of different people, probably lots and lots
Wonderful
of different
people.
horse people. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. So, the Lord's looking out for all of us, and how he connects with us. If we trust it and take the action, things happen, because they are your dreams and the Lord put them there so you would follow. And I just think it's amazing. Your faith in that is just really a testament for what you have done with these 3 books, with
Can
the
I
other
tell you what?
activities. Oh, yes, please.
I don't know if we have to formally stop at a certain time, but one of the coolest things is that I belong to a couple of um, Facebook clubs for writers, for older writers, and through one of them, or for older horse people, not necessarily writers. And through one of them, I met a gentleman in England, in the UK, who is about my age, about 2 years older, and he has done the exact same thing that I've done, where he has a forest that he lives near, so he doesn't have to drive to it. I don't either. And he has written horse tales about his rides for decades. And that blew me away. Here we have 2 people with the same dream across the pond, and it has been the most fun relationship. I keep
That
saying
is
somebody needs to
amazing.
interview us together. We really need to get on a podcast together. That would be so much fun.
It would be. I mean, that's fantastic. So, thank you so much for sharing everything. Again, you guys can go and grab her book, Finally Horses, and at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anything like that. If you want to go to her website, swishtails.com, and you can get it from there. And we're just so thrilled. Thank you, Jan, for being that 3-time author and for sharing your story with us. Thank you so much. Next week, we will be back on another Beacon of Light podcast. And so we welcome you all back for more stories of hope and light. We'll see you all. Thank you, everybody.